My imperial father has ordered me to choose a husband by throwing an embroidered ball. Theodosier caught the embroidered ball, but as if touching a hot potato, he abruptly tossed it to Julian Yang beside him. Without hesitation, Julian Yang threw it back to him. The two most stunning young men in the capital were publicly tossing my embroidered ball back and forth. The emperor's face darkened, demanding I choose directly between the two. As I hesitated, unsure of whom to choose. Comments suddenly flooded my vision. Theodosier must not be chosen by this dead supporting actress. Only Clara Dew understands his wealth of knowledge. They connect deeply through their late-night discussions of ancient and modern times. Making him a consort would ruin Theodosier's life. Julian Yang is also off-limits. Clara Dew saved him after he was poisoned on the battlefield. His heart will forever belong to his savior. There's no room for any other woman. I looked up sharply and, sure enough, saw a blatant flash of resistance in their eyes. At that moment, the comments reappeared. Female side character, please look at your crown prince brother. Because he was worried that the female side character would be concerned about their sibling relationship, he suppressed his feelings for 10 years and didn't dare to express them. If the female supporting character chooses the crown prince, the first thing he'll do after ascending the throne is abolish the 6 palaces and send Theodosier and Julian Yang on their way with 2 cups of poisoned wine. I suddenly looked at my imperial brother. I saw his knuckles were white with tension, and his deep eyes were fixed on me with restrained emotion. After throwing the embroidered ball, my heart pounded like a drum. My gaze couldn't help but drift towards the 2 familiar figures outside the decorated tower. Theodosier was as refined as jade, and Julian Yang was wild and untamed. The thought that one of them was about to become my imperial consort made my cheeks flush slightly. No way, is this cannon fodder actually getting shy? She doesn't really think Theodosier and Julian Yang would fight over her embroidered ball, does she? Those 2 agreed on the way here that neither of them would reach for the cannon fodder's embroidered ball. The person they like is Clara Dew. If only the cannon fodder was the fake princess, and the female lead was the real princess who had been lost. Looking at the vicious words in the air, my breath hitched. Just then, the embroidered ball landed squarely in Theodosier's arms. As if it were a hot potato, he immediately tossed it to Julian Yang beside him. Caught off guard, Julian Yang caught it and threw it back to him. The 2 of them were right in front of me, in front of all the people in the city. Tossing my embroidered ball back and forth, I froze in place, fingertips dug into the palm, utterly humiliated. The unwanted hydrangea rolled all the way down, stopping at Theodosier's feet. He glanced at it indifferently. A hint of mockery appeared at the corner of his lips. Princess Margaret has such a noble status. Does she still need to rely on her embroidered ball to determine her life partner? Just write the name directly on the imperial decree. Who would dare not marry you? I promised Clara that I would take care of her for the rest of her life. Even if I become the imperial son-in-law, this promise will not change. His eyes were full of alienation and annoyance. The joy I had just felt at choosing her imperial son-in-law vanished instantly. My heart felt like it was being cut with a dull knife, painful to the point of suffocation. The emperor couldn't hear Theodore's hushed words. He only saw him and Julian Yang pushing the embroidered ball back and forth. His face suddenly darkened. Immediately, she spoke up to support me. Margaret, you've always liked these 2 since you were little. Today, choose one of them to be your consort. Pick whoever you like. I only lingered on Theodosier for 3 seconds longer. His face darkened. The harsh barrage of comments instantly rushed towards me. Is the female supporting character blind? Can't she see Theodosier's face is filled with disgust for her? Half a month ago, Clara Dew's father was accused of treason and his entire family was executed. Theodosier knelt outside the palace gates in the heavy rain for 3 days and 3 nights, willing to give up his top scholar position to protect Clara Dew. They were so close to being together. The female supporting character is so disgustingly cheap. Clara do just experienced the pain of her family's extermination, and here she is, grandly choosing a husband. She deserves to be humiliated in public. In her previous life, the female supporting character chose Theodore Sier, but on the second day after their marriage, he set up another residence outside the princess's mansion with Clara do. They had 3 sons and a daughter, and he never stepped back into the princess's mansion again. The female supporting character ultimately met a depressed end. When she died, Theodore Sier was holding a full moon celebration for his daughter, before her bones were even cold for 10 days. Theodore Sier grandly welcomed Clara do through the main gate with a bridal sedan, compensating her for all the grievances she had suffered. A chill ran from the top of my head to the soles of my feet. Theodore Sier and I were childhood sweethearts. From a young age, whenever he got something rare, he would bring it to me first. The Osmanthus cake from Seonghi shop was hard to buy, but he would go and wait for it before dawn, just to let me taste the first steaming basket. I had always considered him and Julian Yang as the only 2 candidates for the prince consort, but today, these tender memories, doused head-on by a bucket of cold water, not even a trace of warmth remained. Can the female lead not choose Julian Yang? Back then, he was struck by a rare poison on the battlefield, and Clara do saved him. He said that in this life, his heart would only belong to his savior, and it would be difficult to accommodate any other woman in the previous life. Julian Yang remained unmarried for Clara do's sake, preferring to stay by her side even without a title or recognition. The laws of my dynasty dictate that mistresses and illegitimate children cannot be legitimized. Julian Yang couldn't bear to see Clara do suffer, so he used his military achievements to earn her the title of the #1 scholar's wife, treated her child as his own, and used the entire general's mansion to pave the way for their future. It turns out, neither of them had any feelings for me. Disheartened, I was about to decline the marriage to my father, but the comments in the air suddenly became intense. The supporting female character, please take a look at the restrained and forbearing crown prince. He heard that you were choosing a consort today, and is practically falling apart. The crown prince has been in love with you for 10 years. But because of the brother-sister relationship, he has been suppressing his feelings and doesn't dare to express them. He can't even bear to let go of your embroidered ball after picking it up from the ground. If you choose him, the first thing he'll do after ascending the throne is abolish the 6 palaces and send Theodore Sier and Julian Yang on their way with 2 cups of poisoned wine. I suddenly turned my head and looked at my imperial brother. He stood on the jade steps in a black python robe, the embroidered ball clenched tightly in his palm, his knuckles white from the force. His gaze, as deep as a cold pool, was burning hot, as if to scorch me through. I remembered the day I first met the emperor. The Empress Dowager suffered a difficult labor giving birth to me and could no longer conceive. When I was 8 years old, court officials repeatedly petitioned, urging the emperor to prioritize the foundation of the nation. The emperor was unwilling to take concubines, and ultimately adopted an imperial brother from the Yu province clan to be the crown prince. He was taciturn. He often sat alone by the imperial lake, gazing at the water in a daze. Empress mother, what's wrong with imperial brother? Why does he look so unhappy? Margaret, your brother is homesick. Would you go and keep him company? I trotted to my imperial brother's side and pulled him to fly a kite. Who knew a gust of wind would nearly blow him into the lake? Feeling guilty, I specially cooked him the 7 treasure and 5 flavor porridge from Yu province, but because the rice was added too late, the porridge wasn't cooked properly, and it chipped his baby tooth. I still wanted to do something to make up for it. He repeatedly said it wasn't necessary, really not necessary, but thankfully, I finally cured him of his taciturnity. Later, as he assisted our father in governing, we met less and less. Now, the aloof and composed young man in my memory overlaps with the emperor's burning gaze and surging emotions before me. My heart was shaken. A crazy idea suddenly became clear. Father, I have decided on the imperial son-in-law candidate, under the gaze of everyone. I walked to the imperial presence. The imperial decree for the marriage was already spread out on the table, just waiting to fill in the name of Theodore Xie or Julian Yang. After Father Emperor clearly saw the 3 words I had written, his expression suddenly changed. Margaret, you, Father Emperor, you personally promised me that no matter who I choose as my consort, you would grant it. The Emperor was silent for a long time before slowly opening his mouth. This matter, allow I to consider it more deeply. In the end, the Emperor granted my wish. The imperial jade seal fell heavily on the imperial decree bestowing the marriage. A vermilion mark branded on bright yellow silk, Theodore Xie gazed at the imperial edict on silk that would determine his fate, already guessing its contents, a faint bitter smile forming on his lips. Your Majesty, may I ask if the princess has chosen this humble subject as her consort? His father cast a cold glance at him. Whoever holds the hydrangea gets the prince. The light in Theodore Xie's eyes went out completely in an instant. His eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of dust, losing their former brilliance. That's right, the embroidered ball did indeed roll to his feet in the end. Your subject understands. Your subject will now return to prepare for the matter of welcoming the princess. I really feel sorry for Theodore Xie. The moment he heard the imperial consort was him, the light in his eyes died instantly. Are you deaf? His Majesty said. Whoever has the embroidered ball will be the imperial son-in-law. Does Theodore Xie have the ball? If not Theodore Xie, then who? The crown prince. Hilarious. The dead female lead would only choose between Theodore Xie and Julian Yang. Okay, the emperor had already turned and left, not hearing what Theodore Xie said. Julian Yang walked over, a complex expression on his face, and lightly patted him on the shoulder twice. Brother Xie, I've wronged you. Theodore Xie walked up to me, crestfallen. The first words out of his mouth were laced with sarcasm. Princess, now. You've finally gotten your wish. Send the imperial decree to me in a couple of days. Clara is currently staying in my residence, and she would surely be heartbroken if she saw the decree of marriage. Having said that, he turned and left, not wanting to stay even for a moment longer. The crowd dispersed, leaving only my royal brother and I standing face to face in the empty pavilion. He still held the embroidered ball blankly. His fingertips were white from excessive force. Whoever holds the hydrangea gets the prince. His royal brother repeated their father's words. His voice trembled with disbelief. What does Father Emperor mean by this? I smiled sweetly. Slowly, I unfurled the imperial decree in my hand before him. This imperial decree for marriage bestows it upon the 2 of us. My usually composed brother had, uncharacteristically, lost his composure. His eyes were full of astonishment. Why would Theodore Xie? He unilaterally decided that the imperial son-in-law was him. When did I ever say that? My imperial brother swept me into his embrace. I heard his choked whisper. Luckily, the one who picked up the embroidered ball was me, not someone else. I couldn't help but chuckle. My fingertips gently traced his trembling spine. How is it that you, who are usually so astute, are being so foolish at this moment? Your Highness, no way. Why would the female supporting character choose the crown prince? Shouldn't she be relying on her status as a princess to insist on marrying Theodore Xie no matter what? This is clearly her new tactic of playing hard to get, deliberately writing the crown prince's name on the imperial decree to provoke Theodore Xie and Julian Yang to compete for her affections, in order to achieve her goal of marrying both of them. This is an imperial decree of marriage. Do you think this is child's play? I think the female supporting character genuinely wants to marry the crown prince, although I don't know why she suddenly changed her mind. Marrying the crown prince is better than marrying those 2 fickle men, right? The wedding day is set 3 months from now. Everywhere in the palace, a scene of bustling activity. The palace maids of the Bureau of Clothing hold up shimmering brocades, taking my measurements for a custom-made wedding gown. The Bureau of Jewelry presents various phoenix crown designs, allowing me to carefully select one. For several days in a row, I was so busy that I was dizzy. The emperor's chief eunuch came to deliver a decree, summoning me to the Hall of Diligent Governance. On the way, I overheard palace maids gathered together, whispering about recent amusing stories. Have you heard? The Theodore Sier, whom the princess used to admire, actually spent a fortune hiring a high monk to perform a Buddhist service to absolve the traitorous Du family who colluded with the enemy. Not only that, Clara Du, the surviving daughter of the Du family, heard that Theodore Sier is about to marry the princess, and cried incessantly. Young Master Sier felt so sorry for her that he bought her a whole box of pearls from the East Sea, which only the emperor and empress can use. How dare he overstep like that? Isn't the princess about to marry His Royal Highness the Crown Prince? What does it have to do with Theodore Sier? The Sier family must be crazy to want to be the prince consort, daring to fabricate such nonsense. The rumors spread like wildfire. Naturally, the emperor also heard these rumors. Margaret, is it really because of the daughter of that disgraced official that you're not choosing those two as prince's consort? I saw the worry and concern in my father's eyes. My eyes gradually turned red. That day, I couldn't bear to see Theodore Sier kneeling in the heavy rain, begging so bitterly. Even if the Du family committed a crime punishable by the extermination of 9 generations, I still pleaded with my imperial father to spare Clara Du's life. I gently shook my head. They have no intention towards me, and a forced marriage will be difficult to fulfill. I am unwilling to wrong myself and would rather choose someone who is sincere. Crown Prince is virtuous and talented, with noble character. He grew up with me and was personally taught by the emperor. To me, he is a good match. My daughter has finally seen the good in our Crown Prince. He no longer has to give all the other young ladies a hairpin just to give one to the female supporting character. After receiving the imperial decree, the Crown Prince was so excited that he couldn't sleep for several nights, holding the marriage decree with his eyes wide like copper bells. The female supporting character is just being stubborn, isn't it, just because she can't compare to Clara Du? And she's finding an excuse to save face. You scolded the female supporting character when Theodore chose Julian and Xie Yang, and you're still scolding now that he didn't choose them. How miserable is your life that you can't stand to see the princess happy? My father was silent for a moment, then handed me several memorials. They were all impeaching Theodore Sier. He was accused of harboring rebellious intentions for speaking out on behalf of ministers guilty of treason. Father, you don't need to worry about me, I said softly. Emerging from the Hall of Diligent Governance, the Jinyoung princess of the Prince Jin's mansion was already waiting outside the hall. The wedding is imminent. Why aren't you busy preparing? How do you have the leisure to invite me to stroll the streets? Jin Yu Fang has a new batch of jewelry designs that haven't been seen in the capital. I'd like you to help me pick out some for my wedding, and also, choose some fabric for the emperor. A teasing smile immediately appeared in Jin Yang's eyes. My cheeks flushed instantly, and I quickly pulled her into the carriage. Let's go. You should have done this sooner. Those two heartless people are not worthy of you, and they certainly can't compare to the radiant and upright Crown Prince. Inside the Jinyu workshop, I had just finished selecting 2 hairpins, when I heard a familiar voice from the doorway. Brother Theodore. The ruby inlaid hairpin I mentioned to you last time is from this shop. Shopkeeper, quickly bring the hairpin for me to have another look. Clara Du walked in intimately, arm in arm with Theodore Sier. The shopkeeper looked embarrassed. My fingertips were leisurely twirling the radiant ruby hairpin. Theodore Sier walked up to me and held out his hand. Princess, Clara has admired this hairpin for a long time. As the future primary wife, you should have the grace of a primary wife. Just let Clara have it. As he spoke, he actually took the hairpin from my hand and placed it on Clara's head. I raised my eyes, my gaze icy. Theodore Sier, why should this princess give up the hairpin? Theodore Sier didn't expect that I would publicly embarrass him. His face instantly turned ashen. Why must you target Clara at every turn? Whatever she likes, you insist on taking away. A few days ago it was a person, today it's a hairpin, even if you are a princess. You shouldn't be so willful. If you can't tolerate anyone in my backyard, I should go back and discuss with my mother whether we made a mistake in arranging the engagement with the princess. I glanced at him indifferently. Perhaps the coldness and disdain in that glance were too obvious. Theodore Sier was momentarily stunned in place. Could it be that young Master Sier is blind? This hairpin was just in this princess's hand, and you were the one who reached out to me like a beggar. Asking for it. Who exactly is seizing, and who is snatching? Theodore Sier's face flushed red at the word beggar. He was momentarily speechless. Clara Du gently tugged at his sleeve at the right moment, softly advising, "Brother Theodore, business is more important." Theodore Sier suppressed the anger in his heart and said in a deep voice, "I have something to discuss with you. Clara is now a convict, alone and helpless in the capital. I plan to officially bring her into the manor to take care of her in the coming days, to prevent her from being looked down upon by the servants in the future. I want to welcome her into the house before the wedding. What do you think?" "Okay," I answered crisply. Theodore Sier had originally prepared a lot of rhetoric, but my two simple words blocked them all. He was stunned on the spot. What did you say?" "I won't waste my breath," raising my hand. I retrieved the ruby hairpin from Clara Du's hair. I took Jin Yang's hand and turned to leave, leaving Theodore Sier standing frozen in place. As soon as we left the shop, Jin Yang couldn't contain her curiosity and looked at me, full of questions. I smiled faintly. Who he marries has nothing to do with me. Just wait and see. Once he really lets that daughter of a disgraced official through the door. Which noble family in this capital would still be willing to marry their daughter to him as his wife? As soon as she finished speaking, a person stopped in front of me and bowed respectfully. "Greetings, Princess. I am Shen Guanfu, Minister of Revenue. I heard that the princess's wedding with the crown prince is approaching, and I offer my congratulations in advance upon this chance encounter." His voice was clear and resonant, carrying distinctly into the shop. Theodore Sier, who was accompanying Clara Du in selecting jewelry, suddenly stiffened. He almost immediately rushed out, but on the bustling street, the figures from just now were long gone. Clara Du followed closely behind, asking anxiously, "Theodore, what's wrong?" Theodore Sier frowned, his eyes still searching the street corner unwillingly. "It's nothing. I just thought I heard an extremely absurd blessing." He suppressed the inexplicable fear in his heart and turned around with a gentle expression. "Don't worry about it. I must have misheard. Let's go. I promised to pick out some satisfactory jewelry for you. I can't break my promise." The two of them visited all the famous jewelry shops in the capital, until dusk began to settle. Only then did they return to the Sier residence, carrying large and small packages. In the main hall, Duke Sier sat upright in the seat of honor, his face ashen. The moment he saw Theodore Sier, he pointed at him, erupting in furious denunciation. "You unfilial son. How dare you perform a ritual for someone who colluded with the enemy and betrayed the country? Do you want the entire Sier family to be buried with you?" Clara Du's eyes reddened, and she immediately knelt down. "All the blame lies with Clara. If I implicate Theodore, death is the only option for Clara." The Duke of Sier didn't even glance at her, his gaze like a knife piercing straight into Theodore Sier. "His Majesty summoned me to the palace today, stating directly that the Sier family harbors rebellious intentions. To protect the lives of the entire clan, your father has already requested to resign from his official position. Your title has also been stripped. Our Duke's mansion is not what it used to be. Now that we've even lost the lucrative Salt Commissioner position, the Sier family is likely to be ruined in your hands." Theodore Sier frowned. "Father, can't you see? This is the princess throwing a tantrum. She can't tolerate Clara and is deliberately pressuring His Majesty to punish us." His Majesty personally arranged our marriage a few days ago. After the wedding, all the glory and power will return. Theodosia actually still thinks the princess chose him as her consort. The news of the princess and the crown prince's wedding has already spread throughout the palace. If he spent less time thinking about Claradu, he wouldn't be so ill-informed. I always thought the female supporting character wasn't good enough for him, but now hearing his arrogant words, I actually think the crown prince and princess are a match made in heaven. The ominous premonition in Duke Xie's heart grew stronger. You keep talking about bestowing a marriage. But why haven't we seen the imperial decree after so many days? Could the princess's intended consort be Julian Yang? Theodosia chuckled. It was I who asked the princess to postpone the decree. If it were really Julian Yang who received the imperial decree for marriage, given his temperament, he would have likely already turned the world upside down. Duke Xie suddenly recalled the chief eunuch beside His Majesty in the palace today, who had smiled at him meaningfully. Congratulations, Duke. Good fortune is approaching your esteemed household. Thinking of this, he suppressed his anger. I will prepare the betrothal gift list tonight. And you will personally deliver it to the princess's mansion tomorrow. Understood. Today in the palace, I also heard that the crown prince is also getting married soon. He has always doted on this younger sister. And since you are the imperial son-in-law, you must visit him often. Theodore felt grateful upon hearing the words crown prince's wedding. The congratulatory message I heard at the Jinyu workshop during the day suddenly surfaced in my mind. A trace of indiscernible emotion flashed across his eyes. The person offering congratulations claimed to be Shen Guanfu, the Minister of Revenue. It seems he will have to pay a visit to the Shen residence tomorrow, the third quarter of high hour, around 10:45 p.m. The Duke of Xie sent someone to deliver the betrothal gift list to Theodore Xie's room. Claradu looked at the jade and jewelry listed on the gift list, silently shedding tears. If my family hadn't suffered misfortune, my parents would have been preparing my dowry for me. Theodore should also send the betrothal gifts in a proper and grand manner, instead of, in a few days, only being able to sneak her in through the side door in a small sedan chair under the cover of night. Theodore Xie gently pulled her into his arms. I promised you that the first thing I would do after entering the court was to reopen the Du family case. His gaze swept over the gift list. Since you and I are married first, these betrothal gifts should be given to you first. As for the princess's share, I'll have my father prepare it separately. Clara nestled in his arms, deeply moved. I never dared to hope to wear a red wedding dress and complete the ceremony, but a woman's wedding is a once-in-a-lifetime event, and I really didn't want to have any regrets. She looked up with tearful eyes, timidly gazing at him. If I wear red privately, I'm afraid I'll be impeached by the historians, tarnishing the reputation of the Duke's mansion. Theodore, could you please ask the princess to lend me her phoenix coronet and ceremonial robes just for me to wear once? If it's a wedding dress bestowed by the princess herself, no one would dare to say anything more. Theodore Xie gently stroked her cheek, his knuckles wiping away the tear stains, and replied softly, "Okay, I'll go talk to the princess tomorrow." A guard outside the door announced Theodore Xie's request to see her. I am embroidering the knot of union for the wedding. Without even lifting her eyelids at the sound, she simply ordered someone to send him away. Today is General Yang's birthday banquet. I am here on the orders of the Emperor and Empress to personally deliver birthday gifts to your residence. Julian Yang's grandfather fought alongside the Emperor's grandfather, spending half his life on the battlefield. He was a respected veteran of two dynasties, revered by both the court and the common people. I had just taken my seat at the table when Claradu gracefully approached and bowed gently. "Greetings, elder sister." A low murmur immediately arose around them. Is this the daughter of the Du family who colluded with the enemy and betrayed the country? I heard she's currently living in the Xie residence and will soon be taken as a concubine. Bringing an unbetrothed concubine to such an occasion, The Xie family's reputation is truly an eye-opener. That sister she called out sounds like she's afraid others won't know she has a close relationship with the young Master Xie. I slightly tilted my head, giving my personal maid, Chun Dao, a look. She immediately understood, stepping forward and delivering 2 crisp slaps. Insolent, Chun Dao scolded sternly. How dare the daughter of a disgraced official presumptuously claim sisterhood with the princess? Where do you place the dignity of His Majesty and the Empress? Clara Du covered her reddened cheeks, tears streaming down. I was thinking that I would be in the manor with the princess in the future, so I came to pay my respects in advance. It's Clara who doesn't understand the rules. Theodore, please don't blame the princess. The female lead is such a schemer. Her purpose of sowing discord is too obvious. What status does Theodore Xie have to dare blame the princess? Only the legal wife can attend today's occasion. Clara pestered Theodore Xie to come along, just to let everyone know that she is the one Theodore Xie cherishes most. Such a speechless tactic, an unmarried princess being publicly addressed as a sister by the daughter of a disgraced official. This is clearly intended to embarrass her. Can you not be so harsh? Clara Du is already pitiful enough, with the Du family executed and only her remaining, as a concubine. She's not qualified to attend old General Yang's birthday banquet. What's wrong with her using her own abilities to have Theodore Xie bring her? Isn't this the strong female lead you all keep talking about? It's not shameful to do everything you can to get what you want. Hilarious. The Du family's treason and collusion with the enemy are irrefutable. Their execution was well deserved. What's there to pity? Julian Yang, who was entertaining guests, arrived upon hearing the commotion. His brow furrowed with displeasure. Princess, today is my grandfather's birthday. Why must you make things difficult for Clara in public? She is a distinguished guest I invited, and today she is qualified to sit at the head table with you. Her status is not even the slightest bit lower than yours. As soon as these words came out, the whole room was shocked. The guests cast incredulous glances. How could the daughter of a convicted official be worthy to sit at the same table as the current princess and a veteran of 2 dynasties? I gently caressed the teacup and said slowly, back then, General Yang followed my royal grandfather in bloody battles in the western regions, his horse trampling the yellow sands, but the Du family, out of their own greed, sold border defense intelligence to the enemy, causing thousands of soldiers to fall into an ambush and be buried in foreign lands. My eyes fell on Julian Yang's tense face, and I said, word by word, General Yang was loyal to the emperor and patriotic. The entire Yang family was loyal and devoted to the country, yet you have inherited none of it. Julian Yang stood there, face flushed red, stiff and embarrassed. At this moment, the old General Yang arrived, leaning on his cane, his gaze sweeping over Clara Du like piercing ice. So you are the daughter of the traitor who colluded with the enemy. His Majesty showed mercy and spared your life that day, yet you are ungrateful and dare to step into the Yang family's mansion. Get out of my birthday banquet immediately. Seeing Julian Yang wanting to plead for mercy, the old general heavily struck the ground with his wooden staff. Take this unfilial grandson away and give him 20 lashes. Clara Du lowered her head and sobbed, standing still and refusing to move. Theodore Xie quickly stepped forward to protect her, lowering his voice to say to me, Princess, I have something I need to discuss with you. He glanced towards the corridor, his intention clear. I sat still and said, if young Master Theodore has something to say, he may speak frankly here. Theodore Xie's face darkened. He didn't want to mention this in public and was about to talk about it another day. But Clara Du approached his ear with red and swollen eyes. Brother Theodore, today is the best opportunity, in front of so many people. The princess will definitely consider her reputation for being virtuous and generous and agree to this matter. With our wedding date fast approaching, the princess and I are of different builds, so the wedding gown will need alterations by the seamstress. Theodosia pondered for a moment before finally speaking. Since you've already agreed to let Clara enter the household first, could you lend her your phoenix coronet and ceremonial robe to wear first? Although ancestral rules dictate that concubines cannot wear red, if you personally grant permission, it wouldn't be considered a violation. The two of you are wearing the same wedding dress. If this spreads, it will be quite a story. Once Clara is married into the family, I will prepare the 6 rites the next day and discuss the wedding date with you. I slowly raised my eyes, a frosty smile forming on my lips. Theodosia, have I been too lenient with you in the past? Is her kind even worthy of touching the hem of my wedding gown? Theodosia's face turned cold. I waved my sleeve, signaling the guards to step forward. Please, young Master Xie, step aside. Clara Du felt extremely aggrieved, pointing at me and raising her voice. If the princess is unwilling, she is unwilling. Why humiliate people like this? Her body went limp, and she actually fainted in Theodosia's arms in public. After taking her pulse, the physician reported, Miss Du is suffering from a deficiency of qi and blood. I will prescribe 2 doses of medicine to regulate it. If convenient, there is a hot spring resort 200 miles to the east that is quite effective and would be very beneficial for her condition. Theodosia immediately picked up Clara Du. He didn't even bother to say goodbye to General Yang, turning around and leaving. As he left, he cast a glance at me. His eyes were filled with disappointment. The guests watched his antics, their faces betraying nothing, but their hearts were already filled with mockery. General Yang raised his glass. I apologize for the spectacle. Let's not allow trivial matters to spoil our enjoyment. I'll drink to that. Several officials immediately raised their glasses in agreement. The music began again, filling the air. Soon, the lively atmosphere was restored. The next day, the farce had spread throughout the capital. I was safely embroidering a Chinese knot in the manor. Chun Dao presented a letter, signed by Theodosia, which made me raise my eyebrows. He said that he and Clara Du had arrived at the hot spring villa. Clara was weak and needed to soak for several days to recuperate. Once she recovered, the two of them would also travel around Jiangnan. Between the lines, one can sense a leisurely and carefree spirit. He said he had chosen the 8th day of the month 2 months from now to marry Clara Du. They will return to the capital on the eve of their wedding. He asked me to take care of the wedding arrangements on his behalf. I held a corner of the letter, smiled contemptuously, and casually brought it close to the candlelight. Flames suddenly flared up, devouring the absurd words on the paper. What a coincidence! The auspicious day he chose is the same day I chose. The letter burned to ashes, and I picked up the concentric knot and continued embroidering. Every 2 days thereafter, Theodosia would send a letter, sometimes writing about how beautiful the misty rain in Yangju was, sometimes noting how stunning the moonlight on West Lake was, saying that he would definitely take me to travel with him in the future. At the end of each letter, General Theodosia never forgot to ask, "How are the wedding preparations coming along?" I burned all these letters. For the next 2 months, I focused all my attention on my wedding with the Emperor. Time flows, and in the blink of an eye, it's the eve of the wedding. I was just sharing intimate words with Jin Yang, chatting about the trepidation and anticipation of a maiden about to be married. The palace servant announced that His Royal Highness the Crown Prince had arrived. I couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. What is royal brother doing here at this hour? He stepped into the inner hall and gently placed an oiled paper package in front of me. The oiled paper opened to reveal freshly baked peach blossom cakes, and that candied hawthorn stick I've been eating since I was a child. Is this what you came all the way here in the dead of night for, royal brother? He touched the tip of his nose shyly and turned his gaze to the servants behind him. Before long, several heavy rosewood boxes were carried into the hall. It nearly filled half the hall. I stared blankly at this unexpected generous gift. He explained gently, The betrothal gifts prepared by the Ministry of Internal Affairs follow ancestral traditions. These are my private assets accumulated through my own business ventures over the years. Today, I give them all to you as my betrothal gifts. How can this be? As the Crown Prince, how can you not have money for yourself? Marrying you is the greatest blessing of my life, and I only regret that I can't give you more. After telling me to rest early, he left reluctantly. Jin Young chuckled beside me, and I realized with a start that my cheeks were burning, even the roots of my ears flushed crimson. Later, Chun Dao told me that the lights in the East Palace that night burned until dawn. The Emperor's personal guard also revealed that he was so excited that he couldn't sleep all night. Theodore Xie returned to the Duke's mansion the night before his wedding. Stepping into the mansion gate, he saw the courtyard as usual. There was no trace of the joy of an upcoming wedding. He frowned slightly and asked the butler in a deep voice, "Has the princess not come to prepare for the wedding?" The butler bowed and replied, reporting to the young duke, "Since you left the capital, the princess has not set foot in the residence again." Theodore said with displeasure, "She's getting more and more willful, acting so impulsively. How can I trust her to manage the duke's estate? Immediately take men to hang the red silk and paste the auspicious characters. You must decorate the mansion for a grand wedding. Tomorrow, all the nobles of the capital will come, and we must not let anyone laugh at us." The butler hesitated. "But, what about the duke? Since father is handling affairs in Shu, I am naturally in charge of the household now." Theodore Xie's tone left no room for doubt. Clara Du recalled the scene she had witnessed when passing by the princess's residence earlier. Lightly twisting the silk handkerchief in her hand, she said with concern, "Brother Theodore, when we returned to the manor just now, I seemed to see the princess's residence adorned with red silk. Do you think the princess might send someone to take me away tomorrow and have me marry you in her stead?" Theodore Xie was taken aback upon hearing this, a trace of complexity flashing in his eyes. "Did you really see the princess's residence covered in red silk and auspicious characters?" Before Clara Du could speak, the butler bowed and reported, "The princess's residence has indeed been preparing for the wedding these past 2 months." This old servant thought the young duke was already aware. Theodore Xie frowned and sighed, with a hint of reproach. "She is truly becoming more and more absurd. What difference does one day make? Forget it. I can understand her unhappiness. After we are married, I will bring her in as soon as possible." Clara Du softly interjected, her tone gentle, "Once the princess enters our home, I will certainly get along with her like sisters, and I will never make Theodore feel troubled." Theodore Xie's expression eased slightly. "It's good that you understand the bigger picture." He pondered for a moment, then said, "Tomorrow we need to find someone to keep an eye on the princess. Can't let her run wild." Theodore Xie pondered for a moment and went to General Yang's residence with Clara Du. He knew very well that old General Yang didn't like Clara Du. He specifically only asked Julian Yang to come out of the residence to meet him. "Tomorrow is my wedding with Clara, and I fear the princess will come to interfere. Would you be willing to go to the princess's residence and stop her for me?" Julian Yang looked at Clara Du's slightly red eyes. He paused, pointing the spear in his hand towards the princess's residence. "All right." He took out a gift list from his arms. "Clara, these are the dowries I have prepared for you. I promise to protect you for the rest of your life, and from now on, the general's mansion will be your maiden home." Clara, with tears in her eyes, stepped forward and gently hugged Julian. "Brother Julian, thank you." "Margaret, it's time to get up and dress." As the first light of day broke through, the Queen Mother herself came to wake me. The nanny carefully styled my dark hair. The palace maids entered in a line, carrying the phoenix coronet and ceremonial robes. I gazed at my elaborately adorned reflection in the bronze mirror, as the phoenix coronet, studded with Eastern pearls, settled upon my hair. I couldn't help but clench my palms nervously. The Empress Dowager comforted me. "Don't be nervous. Your father said that Moa is even more excited than you." He didn't sleep a wink last night, and dragged the guards to practice swordsmanship in the courtyard all night long, thinking of how the emperor sent the betrothal gifts last night. And then went back to practice swordsmanship with the guards all night long. I couldn't help but chuckle. Chundao whispered in my ear, "As you predicted, Princess, General Yang has been waiting outside the manor since early this morning." A faint smile touched my lips. "Let him wait. Pay him no mind." Just then, ceremonial music drifted in from outside the manor, announcing the arrival of my imperial brother's wedding procession. He stood at the foot of the steps in a scarlet wedding robe, his eyes burning as he reached out his hand to me. I gently placed my hand in his palm, and he helped me onto the phoenix palanquin. Julian Yang was about to step forward to stop me, but the moment he saw it was the crown prince welcoming the bride, he froze as if rooted to the spot. He suddenly remembered the unfinished words of his grandfather that day. The princess's chosen consort is actually the crown prince. Little General Yang, a palace maid, quietly approached him, offering a letter. "The princess ordered me to deliver this letter to you." Julian Yang took the letter. I knew she wouldn't give up so easily. Before the words finished, his eyes were fixed on a certain spot on the letter. His whole body was struck by lightning, standing frozen on the spot. "This is impossible. Clara clearly saved me on the battlefield. How could it be the princess? How would a woman from the inner palace know medicine?" The palace maid snorted lightly. "Little General Yang doesn't know, but the princess has studied medicine since she was a child. Seeing her extraordinary talent, His Majesty specially allowed her to join the Medicine King Valley. Back then, when I saved you at the border, the princess was on her way to visit the Medicine King." Julian Yang could no longer hear what she was saying. Only a sharp buzzing remained in his ears. The scene before his eyes began to spin and blur. He staggered, falling straight to the ground. The palace maid glanced at him indifferently, her skirt brushing against the bluestone slabs as she walked on without stopping. The wedding procession made its way down the long street, with common people watching on both sides. Children stood on tiptoe to offer their congratulations. Women pointed at the bridal sedan and chatted with smiles, and old men muttered auspicious words. My imperial brother rode his horse ahead of the sedan, turning back from time to time, his gaze falling upon me. Arriving at the imperial ancestral temple, the ceremonial guard halted. My imperial brother and I joined hands to offer sacrifices to heaven, earth, and our ancestors. As dusk fell, the phoenix palanquin was steadily carried into the eastern palace. As the nuptial wine was presented, my imperial brother whispered, "I still remember when you were little, sneaking peach blossom cakes and getting sugar frosting all over your mouth." I couldn't help but smile. The spiciness of the wine actually transformed into sweetness between my lips and teeth. Inside the bridal chamber, red candles burned brightly as he removed the heavy phoenix coronet for me. I have waited too long for this day. Outside the window, the moonlight gradually brightened, casting an even gentler glow upon the festive room. The next morning, I entered the palace with my imperial brother to pay our respects to the emperor and empress. The two elders were overjoyed, and rewards flowed into the eastern palace like water. The palace servants were all smiling, and the whole place was filled with the joy of a new marriage. On the other side, however, the Duke's mansion presented a completely different picture. Clara Dew is helping Theodore Sier to tidy his clothes. A thin layer of sorrow veiled her brows and eyes. "I'm making you suffer. We only celebrated our union yesterday, and today I must seek out the princess to discuss the wedding date." Clara Dew raised her eyes, brimming with tears. "The princess holds a noble status. After she enters the household, I'm truly worried." Theodore Sier comforted her gently. "Don't worry too much. Even if she enters the family, it won't affect the feelings between you and me." On the way to the princess's mansion, the betrothal gift procession moved slowly through the streets of the capital. Theodore Sier suddenly remembered something, and the corners of his lips lifted slightly. I didn't expect Julian Yang to actually stop the princess. She really didn't cause any trouble yesterday. The princess's residence. Servants are tidying up the festive decorations from yesterday's wedding. Yesterday at the princess's wedding, the way the crown prince looked at our princess was so sweet. It could drip honey. The crown prince is usually so serious. It's the first time I've ever seen him laugh so heartily. Theodore heard these words, not missing a single syllable. He froze on the spot, his face instantly paling. He forced himself to remain calm and said to the went directly to the Court of Judicial Review to report the case. However, the Minister of the Court of Judicial Review was handpicked by the Prime Minister. After a perfunctory response, he ordered his men to send him out. Suffering repeated setbacks, Theodore fell ill and was bedridden. After recovering from his illness, he returned to the academy. Determined to pass the imperial examination again, he wanted to make those who had looked down on him regret their actions. The classmates who used to follow him around, now they've all changed their tune. Brother Theodore, tell us what you were thinking, turning down a princess of noble birth to marry the daughter of a disgraced official. Have you lost your mind? Ha ha ha. Now, in the capital, who doesn't shy away at the mention of Theodore Sier? The Sier family's doorstep is so desolate that even birds don't want to perch there. I heard that the crown prince petitioned His Majesty today, vowing to marry only the princess in this lifetime, and never take concubines or imperial consorts. Such deep affection is truly enviable. Theodore Sier couldn't bear such ridicule and, for the first time ever, hid in a tavern to drown his sorrows. If I had married the princess first and then taken concubines, would I not have ended up in this situation? He would still be the young Master Sier that everyone fawned over. Everyone who sees him has to be respectful. No need to worry about fame, no need to worry about an official career. He can go directly to the Ministry of Personnel to take up a post. In a few years, he can justifiably reach the highest position in the court. Theodore Sier downed one glass of wine after another, drinking day and night. I returned from Jinyang. From afar, I saw Julian Yang standing outside the East Palace gate, looking as if he had been waiting for a long time. He seemed to have aged 10 years overnight. The spiritedness of the young general was gone, even his steps were heavy. Julian Yang's voice was hoarse. I went back to the place where I was poisoned and met an old woman. She said that you were the one who saved me back then. You saved me from the brink of death. But I couldn't even recognize my true savior. I even hurt you repeatedly for Claradu. I have no face to appear before you again. I have already petitioned His Majesty to guard the border forever, and I will never return to the capital in this lifetime. Before I leave, there is one question I want to ask you. He raised his eyes, a last glimmer of hope within them. If I were to ask His Majesty for your hand right now, not caring whether you've been married before, would you be willing to give me one more chance? Silence reigned before the palace gates. My silence was the best answer. A self-deprecating arc appeared at the corner of Julian's lips. I will silently guard the princess on the frontier, and I will never marry in this life. If you ever need help in the future, just send a letter, and I will come at full speed. I frowned and interrupted him. Whether or not you marry is your own choice. Don't say things like remaining unmarried for my sake. Such words will only make me uncomfortable and will not move me in the slightest. Julian Yang bowed deeply, her sleeves fluttering in the wind, then she turned and left, never looking back. I finally had a few days of peace and quiet. So I came to the Jinyu workshop today to relax. Unexpectedly, Theodore Sier heard the news and rushed over, blocking me at the door. I've sent Clara to the estate. From now on, she won't stand between us. So, are you willing to divorce the crown prince? No. Why are you still unwilling? His voice suddenly rose. The obstacle between us is gone. The obstacle between us has never been Clara. But you, on the day of the hydrangea toss, you knew I would lose all face in front of the city's people. Yet you and Julian Yang still tossed the hydrangea back and forth as if it were a toy, because you were certain I wouldn't leave. This was just a test of my obedience, wasn't it? Theodore Sier's face flashed with shame and embarrassment at having his thoughts exposed. I have already ordered someone to summon Duke Sier. He rushed over, bowed to me, then turned around and gave Theodore Sier a slap in the face. How long are you going to continue embarrassing yourself? The princess treated you sincerely, but you didn't cherish it. Now that you've lost everything, you're putting on an act of deep affection." Having said that, he actually raised his stick directly. He beat Theodosia all the way from the street back to the Duke's mansion. After returning, Theodosia remained behind closed doors day after day, locked myself in my room. During this time, servants came to report that Aunt Du, who had been sent to the estate, couldn't bear the hardship and kept asking when she could be brought back to the mansion. Theodosia only knew to drown his sorrows in alcohol. Now, the Xie mansion was deserted, and no one in the capital was willing to associate with the Xie family anymore. Before long, the academy officially expelled him, and all his belongings were thrown out the door. Theodosia was utterly unwilling and determined to secure an official position. "If one day I reach a position of great power and influence, I will surely make you regret your choice today." But he soon discovered that, having lost the backing of power, seeking a job in the capital was as difficult as ascending to heaven. After many twists and turns, he finally secured a position in the Ministry of Personnel, only to find it was a menial, odd-jobbing role. Those petty officials he once disdained could now order him around, unable to bear the humiliation. Theodore resigned in anger. From then on, he refused to even step outside his mansion gates, curled up in the room all day, mumbling repeatedly through drunken eyes, "If only I had known, how wonderful it would have been if I hadn't thrown that embroidered ball back then." The days after the wedding were actually a bit more tender than imagined. Every day after returning from court, the emperor would always take out a warm, oiled paper package from his sleeve before rushing to deal with government affairs. The oil paper was carefully wrapped, and when unfolded, it still emitted wisps of heat. "Newly made Osmanthus sweet cake. Try it quickly." As dusk approached, we each took a desk in the small study of the East Palace. He sat upright at the rosewood desk, reviewing memorials, while I lay on the soft couch, reading medical books. Sometimes he would put down his vermilion brush and stroll over to add tea for me, taking the opportunity to lean over and look at the medicinal prescriptions I was studying. Occasionally, when I looked up, I would always meet his smiling gaze, quietly meeting in the fading twilight. The end.